Hello there, social media loving peeps. Welcome back to my channel. I'm at it again like a crazy person. Now, oh my gosh, Resident Evil Requiem happened. And did it impress me? Let me be honest with you. I rarely feel impressed by things, but this game did it. Now, I enjoy where the developers went with this franchise in terms of adapting first person into their games, which was in Biohazard and Village, which now in Village they offer third person play as Ethan Winters. It gave a whole different experience when it comes to fear. And I love horror survival games, even if it has more action in it. There's something about viewing everything from a first person perspective that immerses the mind, where it feels like it's happening to me and not the character. It's kind of like a trick of the brain in that. That's why horror games that are adapted into first person help fuel the fear, the terror more than third person. Third person eases that tension a bit. Tension in third person comes from different circumstances, such as resource management. Sometimes it comes with clunky gameplay. Some of the originals, they were fixed camera angles versus the terror of viewing things right in your face in a cinematic way, which can make you feel like everything's your fault for making mistakes because you become so immersed in that world. But when it comes to storytelling, first person hits different, especially with Biohazard and Village. Both are very compelling stories. However, hear me out. Requiem snagged me in with its new character and a very particular storyline. Grace and Emily. Here's where I need to put on the brakes for a second. Spoiler warnings, okay? I'm going to go into detail about the game's story, and I'm going to add a lot of clips from the game, okay? Don't watch any further if you don't want to be spoiled. There, you are forewarned. Okay, let's dive into this. Grace Ashcroft is one of the main protagonists in the game. Leon Kennedy is the other one. But we are not talking about him at all, okay? I'm focusing on what made Requiem impressive to me. Grace's story is what gives this game so much more weight. Her storyline is more emotionally compelling with her reactions in the game. Even her gameplay is satisfying because she plays more human-like, something that people can resonate with. She's shaky, she stumbles and trips all over the place. When you aim with Grace in the beginning, it's challenging to get a steady shot at the enemy. And you can't stealth kill with her unless you have the injector to explode the enemy's heads. With Grace, you have to resource manage and plan ahead quite often for a very good reason. The reason is Emily.
I'm sorry if I surprised you. Cataracts. You can't see, can you?
Who are you?
Grace finds a blind little girl who looks a lot like her in a high security room in the Rhodes Hill facility that she's trapped in because Victor Gideon knocked her out and started taking her blood. Her finding Emily is when the story really begins to pull heavily on my heartstrings. Everything else before that was good for sure, but it truly began for me at that scene. To give context to Grace, at the beginning of the game, you learn that Grace's mom, Alyssa Ashcroft, was killed in front of her. It was basically blood and gore at that point, and Grace witnessed it all firsthand. After her mom's death, Grace became an FBI intelligence analyst, basically. So she's still an agent, but she's a desk jockey. So her cubicle is a mess of files, and she sits in front of the computer screen as if it were her entire existence. She is such an introvert. Love her. She's timid and she stutters her words quite often from anxiety. She doesn't look at people directly and stares at the ground quite often in this game. Her written trauma and how it's displayed in the game is delicious to watch. I know I always put things in those terms, but bear with me. Now to reveal what we learned towards the end of the game. Alyssa wasn't Grace's biological mother, okay? Oswald Spencer gave Grace to Alyssa Ashcroft, hoping she would take care of her. Obviously, Alyssa adopted Grace and gave her her last name, Ashcroft. Ashcroft. I'm pronouncing it. I'm trying to. Why mention this? Because it's the core theme of Grace's story. She's an orphan. She's the orphan who's taken into the care of a woman who becomes the mother. And not just any woman or parental figure, a protector who's not biologically related. Why is that compelling to me? Well, let me explain it to you. Society stigmatizes orphans. It was weaponized against children who are seen as less than if they are raised or taken care of by someone who's not their biological parent. A lot of fairy tales were rewritten to not sully the mother figure, so they switched it to the witch, to a stepmother, or making any other parental figure less important. The biggest offenders is Snow White, by the way. Snow White, it wasn't the stepmother, it was that biological mother that was wanting to eat her lungs and heart and shit. So let that sink in. Now, why is Grace's story as an orphan so important? Stories like hers are the best media tool to show that children can still have it good even without their biological parents. It slowly erodes the misconception that the biological parent raising the child is of top importance, when in reality, the healthy parental figure matters more than blood. There are some celebrities today that people are totally unaware of across the globe who lost their biological parents young and were raised by an aunt or a grandparent or even an older sibling. I have quite a few blood relatives that were raised by their older sibling, by the way. So that is a thing. How about teen pregnancies, where the grandmother becomes the mother because the child has no means to take care of the baby? I have met plenty like that too. When you work in retail, you meet a lot of grandmothers that raise both their child and grandkids. My point is, the word orphan was and still is used as a slur even towards celebrities. It has been mostly to female celebrities a lot more often than I like, especially on live streams, and it shows live, real time, how it still hurts them because it is hurtful. Now, why would I even discuss this using Grace's story in Requiem in the first place? Well, I've been thinking about this for almost 2 years now, and I've been trying to find the means or media to use to discuss this without using other on-the-nose media that could paint a target on my back, okay? But mostly, Grace's story is a good example. However, let me truly explain my reasons behind this, okay? I had a huge grudge against one big media corporation that created films for children, and they used fairy tale stories to villainize the step parent and the parental figure who adopts the child into their care. However, they made up for it with some of their live action adaptations, in which one of them, Angelina Jolie, starred in. That should be enough hints on that. But let's move on. So, they are one of the many main reasons we grew up stigmatizing orphans and thinking little of parental figures who adopt children and thinking it's less than. It removes the deception that only a biological parent can raise their kids right. And that's not correct at all. Let me explain the reasons behind that as well. But before I go any further, this is where it can get triggering for some people, so you are warned. A lot of people realize there's the no contact movement between adults and their parents. That has been going on long before it even became a trend on social media. Social media just revealed what was already going on long before it even rise to the occasion here. A lot of us have survived childhood abuse from our parents in various forms, because back then they didn't think anything about the many ways a parent can abuse their child that's not always physical. We're talking about more manipulation in terms of covert narcissism, by the way. Not to mention parents who were suffering mentally and were emotionally unstable, who couldn't care for their child. Children have witnessed their parents unalive themselves. And the worst case scenario, I will not go into detail about that because I don't need to traumatize you on why it's so important to remove the child before it's too late. But people are stuck in a bubble when it comes to the dark side of what a biological parent can do to their child. Now, because I'm a woman and a daughter, obviously, and I've talked to many other daughters with biological mothers who are still alive and in their lives and out as well. I know those people too. We all have stories to tell when we feel comfortable enough to share them. That's why I say a good portion of people in society only see surface level things or are aware of hardly anything about the person in front of them, because that requires learning about that person on a much deeper level. And a lot of people don't want to do that because it's most likely going to shatter a lot of beliefs and it'll be uncomfortable to listen to, depending on how willing you are to listen and handle what that person is telling you without reacting. Any words they say, you absolutely cannot invalidate it. No matter what words they choose to use to describe it, listening without reacting is the key to learning about that person. Besides, the other person has to be willing to share something deeper about their life in the first place. That's why I say people have to feel comfortable enough, meaning safe, to share what's deeper within them. And the women I've talked to in my life, even though we ease the discussions with a bit of sarcasm, a lot of them say that they are emotional orphans within their families. I know that's a triggering word. Don't react, please. I'm telling you, this is what they say. Don't invalidate it. That's how they describe it, so it can metaphorically hit people to understand what they are going through internally and what they are feeling. What they mean by that is emotional neglect, particularly from their mothers, okay? Some mothers really just want to use and abuse their daughters, and some mothers just favor another sibling and neglect the other entirely. It happens. And because some of us have cultural backgrounds that say we have to respect our parents regardless of how they manipulate and abuse us, we take that neglect and abuse from them without defending ourselves. That is the real struggle with us. Because of our background and what is expected of us, we still make it our effort to fulfill our obligations as daughters to take care of our mothers, even though it hurts us. And it's difficult for people outside of our cultural background to understand that. But let me be clear as well, we do not set it aside. We really do struggle with the hurt, even asking questions within ourselves. These are some of the questions shared with me, which I'm going to share with you. The main one is always, does my mother even love me? Does my mom even have good memories of me to share? Will she ever share a good memory about me? Will my mother ever take accountability for how she treated me? It takes a lot to deconstruct that. But there is separating yourself mentally from it, not getting caught up in the emotions of it longer than needed. I guarantee you, a lot of people who experience childhood trauma through the spectrum of abuse from their parents envy people who were raised by healthier parental figures. There's more to parenting than just putting a roof over a child's head and feeding them. That's why the discussion of not all parents are meant to be parents happens quite often these days. It's the reason people are more cautious about having kids of their own because it all requires a lot. And they went through the trauma of their parents. And some have healed from it or are going through a long process of healing it. So a good portion of them can give you a long list of do's and don'ts in raising a kid. But there is a thing, if you don't have a kid, you don't know what you're talking about, kind of mindset people have. However, they forgot that they were once kids as well, and you have that past knowledge to work from, especially if you were raised in a healthy household. But a good portion of us weren't, and we remember it to the T because it's ingrained in us as a trauma. So we offer a different perspective on it. And let's be honest, the fact that we reduced teen pregnancy here in the US, that's a fucking miracle because they cognitively cannot raise a child. You think they can, but no, their lives are much harder and their brains are not developed or mature enough to handle that stress. I think I heard someone say the best age to have kids is early 30s. That's the sweet spot for both women and men. And there's actually several sciences behind it why, but I'm not going through that for this video. Now, I know I'm supposed to be talking about Grace and Emily in Requiem. I'm getting there. I just needed to feed your head on some context for this video because this is not a take or a review of Requiem. It's using the story of Grace as a lens for this topic. That's what I do on this channel. I use media and I bring it closer to real life here because it does mirror it. Now, because Grace was an orphan and was adopted by Alyssa, you could tell how much Alyssa loved and cared for Grace, despite the fact it's not her biological daughter. In the game, she handles Grace's anxiety like a pro, trying to soothe her through the horrible situation of being hunted.
Mom, I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Grace. Grace, look at me. Grab my hands. Okay, look at me. Look at me. In and out. Breathe in and out. Oh, Grace. I promise you, I will explain this all to you one of these days. Grace. Please know that you are my hope. Never forget that.
What are you talking about?
Just... I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
That's why that loss hit so hard. This is why Grace finds Emily and becomes attached to Emily so quickly. That's why it's so moving as a narrative to me. We are delivered a high stakes situation that allows Grace to overcome her anxiety to protect the little girl. And most importantly, there were scenes between Grace and Emily that mirrored the circumstances between Grace and Alyssa. Alyssa was dead on the hotel floor, and Grace was sitting next to her body. And then there's escaping the girl in the elevator scene. After the elevator plummets back to the basement, Grace is lying on the floor, distressed, and Emily's on the floor next to her in the same position that the younger Grace was with her mother.
Let's play.
Grace? Grace? Are you okay?
Emily is blind, so she can't see if Grace is okay. So she asks and tries to check on Grace, trying to touch her. They end up hand to hand, like how Grace held Alyssa's hand when she needed soothing, using physical contact to regulate anxiety. Then Emily wrapped her arms around Grace to hug her. And Grace is hesitant at first, but eventually allows herself to embrace Emily back, to allow that connection to form more deeply between them.
Let's go.
Afterward, Grace lifts Emily back up into her arms and carries her. I have to admit, Grace is strong for carrying Emily around for so long, because most of the time, Grace and Emily's storyline is Grace carrying Emily around. That's the part of the game that is compelling to play in third person, because you can watch how Grace cares for Emily and you can see Emily's cute expressions. There's also the scene with Harry, the helicopter pilot, where he asks, "Is that your kid?" And she never answered or corrected him. She saw him limp and she held out her hand, uncertain if he was infected.
I wanted to.
Can you fly this?
Sure can. My bastard boss took the key. You know, I could fly us all out of here. If you go get it for me. It's in there. I'd go myself, but I can't outrun those things, not with this leg.
Are you lying to me?
What? Have you seen the same shit I've seen? Look, lady, we're out of options here. How much longer do you think any of us can survive?
Can I go back to my room now? It's not safe.
Hey, we can help each other. I'll protect her. If you get the key, I'll keep her safe. I promise.
Her first instinct was to protect Emily. She even tries to comfort Emily, who is tired and scared. She carries Emily into the helicopter and makes sure she's strapped in, because Emily was wanting to lay down quite often. She's like, no, no, no. When it's like, you need to sit up, and she strapped her in. When the helicopter crashes, she tries to get Emily out. Emily, unfortunately, was badly hurt and bleeding out.
Reese? Reese, what's happening? It's okay, Emily. I'm here. Emily, it's gonna get a little bumpy. I'm right next to you.
No, lady, I'm gonna need you up front.
Oh, it's okay. I'm all right.
Come on, come on, come on.
Oh, there are so many of them.
Strap in.
Oh, come on!
What's it look like I'm doing? No shit! Get the fuck off me!
Emily, are you okay? Oh, Emily. Come on, Emily.
Shit.
That girl just can't stay out of trouble.
Stay with me. Oh, God. Dead end. Can't let that thing hurt her. It's okay, Emily. Here. Rest here. Here you go. I need to keep you safe.
Okay.
And the minor dialogue of carrying Emily around adds more to their story of them becoming attached to each other. When Emily turned into a monster and Grace broke down in despair, it hit me too.
Emily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh, come on, Emily. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wake up, Emily! Come on! Come on! Emily!
She got attached to the girl.
I failed you.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie. Hi. It's me. I'm right here. You okay? You okay?
Uh-oh. Let me explain this. You go through that effort to clear a safe path for Emily. You carry her around. You try to save her. And then she turns into a monster for Leon to shoot.
Emily! I wanted to save her!
You don't understand.
No, I never would have escaped without her. This is all my fault. Again.
Look, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But we're still alive. We have to keep going.
No.
I know, right, Pisquato? This is hard.
Grace.
So, when I chose the option to release Elpis, which unlocks the good ending, we learned from Leon that he didn't shoot any of the vital organs and that Emily is probably still alive. And sure enough, Emily survived. Are we sure about that? Young girl rescued from the bioterror front. Emily! Emily! Aww. That's when we get the last Grace cutscene of her talking on the phone with Leon, and she talks about Emily.
Good.
You see.
I'm so glad. Emily, yeah, she's doing great. I'm actually teaching her how to read.
Oh. And on the desk, you can see the family photographs of one is of Grace and her mother Alyssa, and the other of Grace and Emily. Emily's eyes are cured. This explains why Grace had to teach Emily how to read, because now Emily can see. But do you see the parallel of that scene? Grace became a mother. Without the developers telling us explicitly, she adopted Emily, completing the cycle. There is no doubt in me that Grace would be an awesome mother to Emily, regardless of being biologically related or not. And she has the means to give her newfound daughter the best life. Hello, she's an FBI agent. I'm pretty sure they get a very good salary, and mostly she's a desk jockey and not a field agent. So, do I believe she will raise Emily and Emily will be happy as hell? Hell fucking yeah, because Grace knows how to handle a lot of things after that situation she went through. I think a lot of us would be envy of her, and a lot of us can actually relate to Grace with how we take care of others as well, particularly me. That's how I seem to be anyway. But that is all I have for you today, and I love this game so much. Thank you for watching.
How about I carry you?